president urged U.S. Congress to do more to punish Russia for their attacks. Coming up, we have the latest on the attacks and Arizona lawmakers' reaction to Zelensky's address. Plus, school funding concerns. We hear from Arizona teachers and educators now that Prop 208 has been struck down. And later, why advocates are urging people of color to register to become organ donors.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Molly Hudson.
And I'm Mia MARQUEZ. Thank you for joining us. Tensions continue to rise in Ukraine as Russia pushes to gain control of Kyiv. Ukraine launched a counteroffensive against Russian forces in hopes of reversing the momentum of the war. Previously, President Biden and other U.S. officials did not call the attacks by Russia war crimes, citing ongoing investigations into whether the term could be used. But today, Biden expressed a different stance.
You asked me whether I would call him a war criminal, sir. I think he is a war criminal. Will you be meeting with him?
More than 3 million Ukrainians are displaced, some seeking asylum here in the United States. At least 15,000 people have died from the attacks, including American journalists. Today, Russians bombed a theater where thousands of Ukrainians sheltered. At this time, the fate of the people inside is unknown as they are blocked by rubble. The International Court of Justice ordered Russia to immediately stop its invasion of Ukraine, saying there is no justification to support the war.
In an emotional appeal to Congress today, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky asked the United States for 3 things to help defend his country: more weapons, more sanctions, and a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Arizona representatives agreed with some of those requests, but not all, as Alexia Stanbridge tells us from our Washington bureau.
President Zelensky, speaking by video and wearing his now familiar green military t-shirt, had a straightforward appeal to Congress and to President Joe Biden.
Is this a lot to ask for, to create a no-fly zone over Ukraine to save people? Is this too much to ask?
Almost all of Arizona's congressional delegation said after the speech that they agree with sanctions and with sending support to Ukraine. But closing the skies over Ukraine may be too much to ask, they said.
I don't support the no-fly zone. I think that would get the United States directly involved in this conflict and could lead to results that would spin out of control.
Just hours after Zelensky spoke, President Joe Biden announced that the U.S. would be sending another $800 million in security aid to Ukraine. But air support and a no-fly zone are not part of that package.
The American people are answering President Zelensky's call for more help, more weapons for Ukraine to defend itself, more tools to fight Russian aggression. And that's what we're doing.
Zelensky's speech today was just the latest in a series of appeals he has made to countries around the globe. His 20-minute speech included references to Pearl Harbor and 9/11, as well as a graphic video that showed the violence and destruction of the Russian attack.
To see the innocent people, innocent children, innocent seniors being indiscriminately bombed, and the violence associated with it, you can't help but be impacted by that.
After what she called Zelensky's, quote, remarkable speech, Arizona Representative Ann Kirkpatrick said the U.S. must continue to support Ukraine against Russian President Vladimir Putin. In a prepared statement, she said, quote, we must be incredibly aggressive and unified in our sanctions against Russia, here and across Europe. The $800 million of aid announced by Biden today brings total U.S. aid to Ukraine to $1 billion in just the past week, the White House said, a move welcomed by lawmakers like Stanton.
I think the United States needs to do more to support the people of Ukraine and defend themselves, to support the military of Ukraine.
In Washington, Alexia Stanbridge, Cronkite News.
After he signed the order for Ukrainian assistance, President Biden declined to comment on proposal to transfer Polish MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine. The White House has balked at the plan, fearing it could spark a confrontation with Russia. But some lawmakers, including Stanton, have called for the transfer of jets.
Coming up later on today's Cronkite Sports Report, we'll be taking a look at the ways athletes in the Valley have been impacted by global conflict. Make sure to stick around for their stories.
After a court ruled that an Arizona proposition to raise taxes to help fund education was unconstitutional, educators and proposition supporters are wondering about funding for schools going forward. We take a look at who may lose out and who may benefit without the additional funding. Proposition 208 would have placed a 3.5% tax rate on high earners. Its goal was in part to increase salaries for teachers and school staff. Proponents estimate it would have raised $800 million for public education.
It was a lot of dollars that were going to help classrooms get classroom sizes get smaller, help us recruit highly qualified teachers. And it was money ultimately that was going to make the learning experience in Arizona a better one for all children.
But a court decision blocking the proposition has advocates wondering how they will continue to attract high-quality teachers and keep Arizona schools competitive.
We do have one of the worst teacher shortages in the nation. We also have the largest class size in the nation, and we also have the worst counselor to student ratio in the nation. So if we want to address those problems, those are human capital issues that require human beings, which means you have to have money to pay them.
The decision might mean a loss for schools, but opponents deem it a win for taxpayers.
This would have meant a severe tax hike for small business owners, and I think they would have chosen to locate elsewhere and move out of the state rather than to expand their businesses and provide jobs and create wealth.
Education advocates say the impact of losing Prop 208 will not be felt immediately.
There's nothing to be anxious about or feel fearful of, but what we have lost out on, as I said before, is hundreds of millions of dollars in future funding for our public schools.
The future of public education funding, both advocates and opponents say, is ultimately in the hands of the Arizona legislature. Education advocates are considering appealing the Prop 208 decision as they continue to fight for public education funding.
A Republican-sponsored bill that allowed the use of deadly force when stopping someone from damaging property failed in the Arizona Senate. The bill failed with a 12-17 vote. GOP Senator Michelle Ugenti-Rita sponsored the bill and said she wanted to give business owners the right to defend their property. But several Republicans joined with Democrats to reject the bill, with some saying the bill went too far. Critics argued that one can replace property, but not life. The state currently allows the use of lethal force to stop crimes such as burglary and manslaughter. The list of people waiting for organs continues to rise. After the break, we'll tell you why advocates are urging people of color to register to become donors.
And water levels hit new lows at Lake Powell. We'll explain the impact this could have.
Your favorite member benefit is getting better and bigger.
This is wonderful.
Over the next year, Passport is adding new shows and doubling the number of episodes for you to stream.
They've given us all that they've got.
From your favorite cooking and travel series.
Even the stairs are breathtaking.
To history specials and award-winning documentaries. Better and bigger.
That really is the fun part.
Stream on any device with Passport on the PBS Video app.
The Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication's Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism. From covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros, students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Over 100,000 people are awaiting an organ donation in the U.S., and the vast majority are patients of color. Cronkite News reporter Milan Andrade takes a closer look at disparities in organ donation and why advocates are urging more people of color to register to become donors.
No one ever plans on hearing that they need an organ transplant. But in 2016, Gerardo Huerta and his wife Rocio Munoz learned that she suffered from a kidney disease and would need a new kidney to survive.
It's very difficult when you receive the news that your loved one is sick and needs an organ donation.
As his wife's disease progressed, Huerta quit his job as a truck driver and started working for the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois. Today, he serves as the outreach coordinator, working to encourage Hispanics to register as organ donors to help eliminate disparities between those who need organs and those who donate. Nico Santos, the media relations specialist at Donor Network of Arizona, also encourages Hispanics to register as donors to help others in the community.
When you register, there is a slightly higher chance that you'll be helping someone that looks like you or lives in a neighborhood like yours or speaks the language that you and your family and friends do.
In Arizona, 1,600 people are awaiting a transplant, and roughly 31% are Hispanic. Nationally, about 60% of the 106,000 people awaiting an organ donation are people of color, and the vast majority are waiting for kidneys. But among those who have donated organs since 1988, 70% were white, 13% black, 13% Hispanic, and nearly 3% Asian. Unfortunately, some transplant stories do not have a happy ending. But on Christmas Day in 2019, Gerardo's wife, Rocio, finally got her kidney. Today, the couple do what they can to persuade others to become donors.
To donate life or to give the gift of life, it's the greatest gesture of love for another human being.
In Phoenix, Milan Andrade, Cronkite News.
If you or a loved one are interested in becoming organ donors, you can visit organdonor.gov for more information.
Lake Powell is an important source of power generation and water for lower Colorado River Basin states like Arizona, California, and Nevada. This week, the lake's water levels dropped below an important threshold set back in 2019. 3,525 feet. This is the water level that allows there to be ample space before Glen Canyon Dam's ability to produce hydroelectricity is threatened. Lake Powell, which sits behind Glen Canyon Dam, reported water levels below this threshold for the first time yesterday. Water levels are now cutting into a 35-foot buffer that protects the system from going under its minimum power pool level. If levels drop too far, turbines will not be able to generate hydroelectric power. All this means more water cuts likely for upper and lower basin states like Arizona.
If Lake Powell is at these critical levels, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation could decide to hold back water from Lake Mead, which could mean bigger cuts for Arizona and bigger cuts for the other lower basin water users as well. But Arizona bears the brunt of those cuts.
Those cuts were established under the Drought Contingency Plan, which was implemented in 2019. The current water situation in the Colorado River Basin has been mainly driven by a 22-year mega drought in the western U.S., and the past 2 winters have been relatively dry. That means there's not as much snowpack to melt in spring and recharge the Colorado River. Although today was hot in the valley, we may see a drop in temperatures this weekend. Peyton Major is in the Weather Center with what we can expect.
You might have noticed those breezy conditions outside of your window tonight. Those will be dying off for the majority of the evening. This is because of this low pressure system over Utah. It's bringing breezy conditions down here to the valley, a little bit of rain chances to the high country, but it'll be leaving this evening, and there will be high pressure building over the valley, bringing those temperatures back up for this weekend, even into the upper 80s, again, what we saw last week. Sunday, there's a little bit of a change, though. A low-pressure system enters again, actually bringing some rain chances to our forecast. Likely won't impact your day very much, but just something to look out for. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. Make sure to wear that green. We actually have a beautiful day ahead at 82 degrees, beautifully sunny. So again, remember, don't get pinched by that leprechaun. Tomorrow also, the UV will be at 6. Make sure to pack that sunscreen. Sunburn time is only 30 minutes, and so from 11 to 2 p.m., you will likely be sunburnt or impacted by those harmful UV rays. Something you might have noticed as well is that air quality is a little bit foggy there in the distance because we're in the moderate from those PM10 pollutants. So if you are sensitive to the air, make sure to plan that accordingly for tomorrow and the rest of this week. Saturday, we're hitting 87. That'll be our warmest day this week. Then Sunday is the first day of spring. That's when those rain chances trickle in, but they won't be lasting for long as we heat right back up into those 80s come next week. In the Cronkite Weather Center, I'm Peyton Major.
I'm Zachary Larson. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. How athletes around the Valley are impacted by conflict abroad, from GCU to the Phoenix Mercury.
Your favorite member benefit is getting better and bigger.
This is wonderful.
Over the next year, Passport is adding new shows and doubling the number of episodes for you to stream.
They give us all that they've got.
From your favorite cooking and travel series.
Even the stairs are breathtaking.
To history specials and award-winning documentaries. Better and bigger.
That really is the fun part.
Stream on any device with Passport on the PBS Video app.
The Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication's Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism, from covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros. Students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Welcome to today's Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Zachary Larson. Today we have a special report on how the conflict in Russia and Ukraine has impacted athletes in the Valley. We have full team coverage from myself and Cronkite News reporters Connor McGill and Ryan Blank. We start with GCU men's basketball player Dima Zador, who came to the United States from Ukraine on his own to play basketball. It was a tough end to the season for Zador, who is thinking about his family back in Ukraine, including his uncle and father, who are on the front lines.
About half of my family right now fighting for their town right now on the front lines, and it's a little tougher in the past 2-3 days because Russian soldiers, they blew up their power plants, so people are struggling to charge their cell phones.
His basketball family is supporting Zador during this time, but the sophomore forward is worried for his family, whom he talks to about once every 24 hours. Although he's not helping physically, he's doing everything he can to spread awareness of what's happening in his home country.
I understand there is not much I can do physically from here, but I'm just trying to do as much as I can on social media and spread true information that comes from my family and tens of other families around the country.
More than anything, the support Zador has received has meant everything to him, as he continues to do his part by having his voice heard on social media. My thanks to Zador for sharing his story with me. Next, we take a look at a Russian athlete who's been impacted by the conflict. Cronkite News reporter Connor McGill spoke to a player on the women's basketball team at Benedictine University in Mesa whose family's in Moscow. It's been a difficult time for her as she has no idea when she can go back home.
Kate Lavinka, a native of Moscow, Russia, picked up a basketball for the first time at the age of 12 and came to the United States at 16. Now she's currently a junior at Benedictine University in Mesa, where she's playing the sport she loves. Challenged by distance, an ACL injury, and now conflict back at home, Glowinka has a lot on her mind.
Not knowing what is happening next, not knowing when I'm gonna see them, not knowing how they are there. It's just every day my thoughts are there. Like, it is hard to focus on other things, you know, because I'm here, my life is safe, in a good place, everything is good. I'm in Arizona, it's sunny, I'm having an interview right now, and they are there, and it's completely different atmosphere for them there.
Glowinka did have plans to go back home for spring break in Moscow, Russia to see her family, but all of that has come to a halt due to sanctions on airspace. For now, the closest thing she has to her family is FaceTime calls.
It's not gonna happen. I don't really know when it's gonna happen, when's the next time I'm gonna see my family, which makes me absolutely heartbroken and sick. But it's gonna be fine.
With the basketball season now over, Glowinka will look to recover from her ACL injury and await news from home. In Phoenix, Connor McGill, Cronkite News.
And finally, Phoenix Mercury center Brittany Griner is the most high-profile athlete caught up in the Russian-Ukraine conflict. The WNBA star has been detained in Russia since mid-February on drug charges. Cronkite News reporter Ryan Blank takes a look at Griner's difficult situation.
On February 17th, Brittany Griner was stopped at a Moscow airport. Customs officials alleging the star's center was carrying cannabis oil in her luggage. She's been detained on drug smuggling charges with very little information known. The WNBA community, including former Mercury assistant coach CHASITY Melvin, are rallying around the two-time Olympian.
Brittany is one of the kindest-hearted human beings that I've ever met. She was a very caring person, a very good human being to be around. Just went with the flow. Just couldn't ask for a better athlete with that type of platform and that type of star status.
The star status that Griner carries has people questioning if her detention is politically motivated, since diplomacy between Russia and the United States is strained due to the Ukraine conflict.
Doesn't make things easier because communication is difficult. Our embassy is understaffed at the moment. Strictly from a legal point of view, it shouldn't complicate life, but that doesn't mean it won't.
Griner's predicament highlights the challenges WNBA players face when playing overseas. CHASITY Melvin, who played in 8 different countries, says athletes don't always understand the cultural differences and political climates when playing abroad.
For the most part, you do live in a bubble when you go over there. It's basically you're with your team, you go to your apartment, and you're playing the game of basketball. And then if you don't speak the language, you could be missing out on a lot.
Every athlete has to be aware of their personal safety. They have to be aware of the laws of the land that they're going to go into. They have to be aware of whether or not culturally they're going to fit in.
Griner was playing for the Russian team UMMC Ekaterinburg, a popular destination for WNBA athletes, including Diana Taurasi, because the money is too good.
Everybody wants to play in ECAT. Up until this war, ECAT is 3-4 times everybody else in the world. I'm talking about a place where all of the top players ended up playing.
While countless athletes have shown their support for Griner on social media, some people have been critical of the 2-time Olympic gold medalist.
Some of these opinions are just atrocious. She's somebody's daughter. She's somebody's partner. She's somebody's sister. She's somebody's auntie. She is one of the kindest human beings with a huge heart.
Nearly half of the WNBA's 144 players were playing overseas this offseason, including more than a dozen in Russia and Ukraine. All of them made it out, except Griner, who faces up to 10 years in prison. In Phoenix, Ryan Blank, Cronkite News.
That does it for this special edition of the Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Mia and Molly.
Arizona soon might not be one of the only states that doesn't observe daylight saving. After the break, we will tell you about the bill the U.S. Senate approved that would stop the turning back of clocks.
Your favorite member benefit is getting better and bigger.
This is wonderful.
Over the next year, Passport is adding new shows and doubling the number of episodes for you to stream.
They've given us all that they've got.
From your favorite cooking and travel series.
Even the stairs are breathtaking.
To history specials and award-winning documentaries. Better and bigger.
That really is the fun part.
Stream on any device with Passport on the PBS Video app.
Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication's Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism. From covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros, students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
If you live in a state that observes daylight saving time, you may no longer need to set your clocks back. The Senate passed a measure that would make daylight saving time permanent across the U.S. The Sunshine Protection Act still needs to pass the House and be signed by President Joe Biden. Arizona and Hawaii are the only two states who do not observe the time change.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.